shit.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sideline Summit. I'm Antonio Perez, joined as always by Danny Code, DC, UPenn's finest, Chris Coacher, CB, Coacher Boy. We got another great episode for you guys today. We, of course, are going to be recapping Week 14 in the NFL, Thursday Night Football, all of the Sunday slate, and we'll hold off Monday until Thursday's episode. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about the college football playoff. The first ever 12-team playoff was introduced to us. There's some, I wouldn't even say hot debates, or at least the hottest debate of it isn't the hottest debate in my opinion, but we will be talking about that a little bit at the end of the episode. Of course, before we get into anything, remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those post notifications so you don't miss a single upload of ours. And if you're listening to this on audio platforms, please leave a like, 5-star review, download the episode if you enjoy it, and comment if your platform allows for it. But of course, before we get into any of that, we got to start with Summits and Plummets with Danny, who is in Miami.
Yeah, I'm with the Dolphins. That's going to be my summit. I'm in 82-degree weather. Coming back tomorrow night. Can't beat it. It's got a little tan. Nothing crazy.
Come on now, can't beat it, man.
And then we're going back and double summit. It's rivalry week. Steelers, Eagles. Every
What's that stat you sent me earlier? Y'all haven't beat us in Philly since, like, I don't know,
1965. But guess what else?
JFK was alive.
Guess what else is true?
What's true?
Russell Wilson has never lost to the Eagles.
That is true. Something
got to give.
Yeah, exactly. Something's got to give. Young Russell Wilson was a problem to handle, especially for an Eagles team, especially back then in his prime years in Seattle. Zero pass rush.
First game I ever been to. 2014, Mark Sanchez versus Russell Wilson. Russ looked like the best quarterback of all time.
We were like 8-4, prime for a playoff run, and then we just started sneaking up the joint down the road. It was tough.
I think they were 9-4.
It was something like that, dude. It was not, and then I think they lost 3 straight to end the year. It was pretty bad. Sanchez didn't play bad. He had that really good. Well, he didn't have the good game. He played a fine game on Thanksgiving, but it was really Shady's day. But yeah, man, can't beat it. Even the 2017 team, they couldn't sack Russ either. It's like they only held him to 17 points, but it was like the offense couldn't get going for nothing. That was just a classic Pete Carroll. He outcoached Doug. Like, I don't.
Shout out Mike McDonald too now.
Shout out Mike McDonald. We're definitely going to be talking about the Seahawks this episode, as you see on the thumbnail and the headline. But Chris, we can swing the rock over to you.
I would do no such thing as shouting out Mike McDonald. Only because we miss you in sadness and happiness. Please come back. But outside of all sad things, one of my summits and plummets, I have a playoff league game today, but we are down 2 of our best players due to baby being had. Congratulations to my teammate.
Can't even be mad at it.
My teammate Dan and my other teammate Danny, cool guys, I say. Shout out to Dan for his baby, and then 2. The other one's just out of town. So we're going to try to win that. But if we lose, I will go out shooting if I've never done so. Also, Summit, I got to watch worry-free football this weekend. Just got to watch other people's teams and critique like I've never critiqued before. You would think my team was undefeated, how I was critiquing other people's teams. My girlfriend likes the Falcons. I said, you know what? It may be Penix time. It was the second quarter. I just trolled my own way there. You saw those tweets about Jalen Hurts being a fullback? I retweeted those. You know why? Because I wanted madness on my Sunday. Because I know next week I'm gonna be mad at my Ravens. I can
when they play the Giants,
I can smell it in the air. Do you know what I'm smelling? I smell it in the air. I smell it. And you know what
keeping that game close.
You know what makes it worse, Danny? Malik Neighbors complained about targets the week before the Ravens. So you know what that means. Force feed Malik Neighbors has 160 yards against my team. So I'm just getting that out. Sorry about that, y'all.
3 touchdowns. Ravens win a shootout.
Oh, it's nasty. It's about to be a nasty day. Drew Lock is going to be a great fantasy pickup. Anybody who has him. So bad for those two.
I watched the end of that game. He looked awful.
Yeah, he started 0-for-5. I was like, wow, can it get any worse? And then the end of the game, it actually did get worse. But yeah, so I would say that. And then my last summit is it's my favorite time of the year. Like, bro, I love Christmas time, bro. Not even Christmas. I love from Thanksgiving on. Really, really Halloween on, because it's about time to be in the cool holidays. But my girlfriend and I adopted a family this year for Christmas. And we just finished shopping for them, and it's all due tomorrow. But bro, we got some of everything. It was a family, 2 kids and a mom, and a lot of stuff they wanted was just things that you wouldn't even think about on the daily, of just wanting or really needing like for Christmas. So it really brought into just the fact that how blessed we are as people to be able to even give back, just everybody as a whole. So that was really, really cool for me to do. It's my first time adopting a family, but like I've always give back and do stuff like that for Christmas. This is my first time like doing it this way, and it just made me feel really good on the inside, like to be able to help someone else have a Merry Christmas or holiday season as a whole.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, that is cool. Like you just gonna make some random family's entire holiday season.
Bro, they asked for chocolate. Do you know how much chocolate we got them, y'all? Pounds. Like actual pounds.
Like, and that's such a simple thing. It's like they could have asked you for Lego sets or video games. They was like, bro, we want chocolate. It's so simple. Like, and I think that's the best part about it is because like I don't know. It's just like for absolutely no reason besides that you and your girl are good people. Like
it makes you just realize and respect what you have for real. I think that's really what it did for me. Like, just make me happy for what I have. And for the people around me for what they have too. Just to, like you said, like how simple the ask are. It kind of brings to perspective what we have every day that we don't have to ask for. So I think that's probably the main thing for me, just like how it made my mind kind of wrap around that fact.
Yeah, I'm with that 100%. I just this past Tuesday, we volunteered at a soup kitchen in Trenton.
You told me about that
with J&J. So it was pretty cool. You see like the struggles that people go through. Some people maybe not in the best mind state. Some people maybe just looking hungry, homeless, looking in between jobs. But it's I think you do see like the reality behind like different people.
Yeah, and this is going to be the craziest changeover of all time. But speaking of assisting, my summit this week, Chris Paul is now officially in my head the all-time assist leader in the NBA. He is technically second, but that Stockton buddy is a little. We heard about the stories up in Utah. Your assists are fugazi as hell. Yeah. So we are recognizing Chris Paul as my all-time assist leader in the National Basketball Association history.
Anton Streets is saying that some of those assists may have been fluff, like Mike blocks and steals numbers. All I'm saying is that
there's some weird things going on in the 90s. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. The one time the Weeknd said in a song, "The 90s are dangerous." He wasn't lying. Those stat keepers are weird. But shout out Chris Paul. If you wanted to catch the actual record, he gonna have to play for a long damn time. And he gonna have to play with Wemby for a long time. So I don't know if that's attainable, but nonetheless, I mean, like, he's entire, like, he's the point guard, top 5 point guard of all time. Anybody says anything otherwise, please go argue with your mother. And I don't want to be entirely honest. I've gotten to the point with Chris Paul where it's like, you got Magic, you got Curry, or Curry Magic. I'm not debating that, but like, whatever. Magic, Curry. And personally, I think I might just put Chris Paul. For the longest time, I've had Isaiah Thomas or Oscar Robertson, but I think any of those three, the Big O, IT, Chris Paul, I think that should round out your 5. If you want to argue a little Jason Kidd, Russell Westbrook, be my guest. Just know Chris Paul going to be in my top 5. That's just how I feel about it.
I want to ask you this question. In terms of, because Chris Paul is the assist point guard, so it means he has to have good talent. Who do you think his best teammate of all time is? I got my answer clear and straight.
Chris Paul's best teammate of all time. Are we talking about like he happened to play with this person?
Yeah,
the
best
time?
talent. Best talent.
It would be it would probably be Kevin Durant. That's just the best player he's ever played with, though.
I'm saying James Harden. He was best with James Harden.
You said if we're talking like how they actually, they got to build something together. It's kind of like the LeBron Lakers. It's like LeBron's the best player to ever put on a Laker uniform, but he's not the greatest Laker of all time.
Exactly.
Okay, James Harden. I definitely agree. James Harden. Yeah. I mean, he had his moments with Blake, but that year, due to injury, really like a year and a half with James Harden, they were special. And I'm gonna be honest, on paper, they just don't even make sense.
His hamstring doesn't pop. I promise you they beat the Warriors. I promise you.
They win the finals.
Or if guys, weren't smoking 27 threes in a row. They had them on the ropes. They really did. And I think yeah, like James Harden and Chris Paul, they really did their thing. But like Mike D'Antoni, even when Chris Paul went down, to even keep his team competitive and to keep them getting looks, like I mean, just a tremendous job. And I think he's going to be a little bit forgotten in time, but he's drawn up two of the best offenses I've ever seen. The 7 seconds or less, and then James Harden. Not James Harden saved my job, but like let me introduce the world to James Harden. So yeah, shout out Chris Paul. I guess I would say my plummet. No, I'm not even gonna have a plummet. I'm gonna have a double summit, I guess. Yankees lose Juan Soto. It's great. They lose Juan Soto. Giants suck. The Knicks are fine, but they ain't doing that series. All hell's loose with the main New York teams, or all New York teams. If you're everyone besides the Mets, basically.
The Mets are still cooked.
Well, the Net are they though? I mean, they just made a championship series run. You know,
and they're going to lose their first baseman who hit 60 home runs.
And you're replacing it with Juan Soto. That's not bad.
It's an equal replacement. They're not getting any better.
You don't know that. They caught on definitely not halfway through the year, but like quarter way through the year. That's when they got hot. Thinking if they can start that way, they probably finish with higher seeding. They probably beat the Phillies for the division title. Then again, the Braves are going to be back and healthy next year with Strider. So time will tell. That'll be a bloodbath that I won't be there for because
NFC North Part 2.
Wake me up in October because I don't care. I really don't care what the Phillies do.
You might be watching the
hotter
Eagles,
months.
Dude.
Huh?
You might be watching the Eagles next October.
Well, I'll wake up in October, and if the Phillies have won the division, I'm out. If they're a wild card team, though, we are so back because they clearly are the type of team that can do rest, and maybe that's just how the MLB thing is. But I will never say a week of rest is a disadvantage. But regardless. We can head on over to on every single episode, you will see me wearing some kind of hat, whether it's a snapback, whether it's a dad style hat. I always got to have something to complete the outfit. And the only place where I get my hats is lids.com. Lids.com has so many different brands. And of course, they have a bunch of different styles. Like I just said, it could be dad hat, snapback. It could be fitted. It could be Velcro back. Whatever you want, they got it. And with the NFL season coming up, I know you're going to want to rock and represent your favorite squad. Me personally, I'm a big Eagles guy, and I love this 47 brand throwback hat that I got from lids.com. Or if you're more of a snapback guy, I also got this NBA champions Boston Celtics new era cap from lids.com as well. If you like either of those hats and you feel like you want one to represent your squad, click the link in the description below. Whether it's new era or 47, both links will take you right to lids.com. And the best thing about Lids, they always have some type of deal going on their website. So make sure you click that link and check out any deals they got going on at lids.com. Week 14 recap. I do want to shout out the Hots and Locks. Danny went 2 for me. Danny went 2 for 2. Gotta give him his flowers. He said the Rams would beat the Bills. I locked the Bills, so kind of 2 birds, 1 stone. Danny wins, I lose. Danny also got his Steelers lock correct. The Browns did indeed respect the split and just happily waved the white flag. Chris, hot take was the Browns this week, which was wrong, but he did lock the Eagles in an interesting one, in a very interesting one. And then I went 0 for 2, of course. Bills didn't win. Chargers could not upset the Chiefs on the road, unfortunately. Wish I had known Lad McConkey wouldn't be playing. Then I would have never made this pick.
Yeah, dude, had no clue he wasn't playing.
As Superman as Herbert can be, he ain't that Superman.
Man, you're a foot in the Chiefs' devil magic away from being right. So,
I mean, we'll get to the Chiefs later and supposed devil magic thing. But
I just don't understand every single break that has gone their way this year.
I don't see it that way, though. But again,
in big moments.
I don't see it that way, but we'll get to it. Let's start with Thursday Night Football. Packers Lions. They gave us a tremendous game. 2 of the NFC's elites. I'm not sure how Chris watched this one because we talked about the Packers and Chris is kind of like a little like seesaw about them. I know he's in on the Lions being contenders, but he also has his questions about Goff. What did you see from this game? Who did you feel better about walking out of this game?
I would say the Lions, right? The Lions and the Packers.
Yeah,
Um,
Lions, Packers.
I think I learned more about the Packers in this game than I did about the Lions. The Lions showing they're gonna go for it on fourth down. As long as it's not 4th and 25, they're gonna go for it, and they even still might do it then. And I think that's just who they've been. And I think it one time it backfired, one time it helped them win. So I think it's been kind of like on that edge of it. It's kind of like if those decisions are gonna be what you live and die on, which is probably what it's gonna be. You're gonna have some up and down there. But I think from the Packers, I think I've started to see a little bit. I started to see a little bit more of what y'all seen with them as a team. I think they're a little better than I thought. I don't know if they're better than the Eagles still. Like I wouldn't put them there, but I think I feel a little bit more confident about why you guys had them the place you had them when we did our ranking. I think they are a really good all around team. I will say that even with Jaden Reed going back to Detroit and not even really going back to Detroit, they still looked pretty good. I'm a big fan of Josh Jacobs, always been, but I think Josh Jacobs is really, really good, really good. And I think that's what will keep them around in the playoffs. Just the run game and them being able to have so many weapons to where even without Reed, who you could say was wide receiver one a couple games this year, they still put up 30-something points. So I think at that point, I think you kind of I look at them as a real contender just for me. But I'd say I learned a little bit more about the Packers than I did about the Lions. Lions pulled out a good win, but I think the Packers showed me personally a lot. I probably didn't have a lot of belief in them.
Yeah, Danny, and then kind of the same question for you. Who'd you learn more about? Does this game shift your feelings towards any team? Like, do you feel real good about the Lions winning, a super competitive one with the NFC elite? What basically same thing. What are you feeling about this game?
I learned enough about the Lions when they came back and beat the Texans. I didn't learn anything new about the Lions. When they came back from multiple scores, I knew that they were an elite offense that can come back and fight pretty much any game. Quite frankly, we've known this since they beat the Chiefs week 1 of last year. That the Lions are a great team. They're gonna shoot it out on offense, and they're gonna play decent defense. Without Hutchinson, I don't really know what the state of their defense is like. They're gonna play hard-nosed defense, so for sure they're gonna try to tackle and they're gonna wrap up. So yeah, I don't think we learned too much about the Lions, but the Packers. They almost won with multiple of their number one weapons having bad games. So that's all I'll say. Reed didn't get the ball much. What's his name? Tucker Kraft had a good game, but nothing really stuck out to you with that about the Packers offense. So yeah, I think they could. It's interesting to say the least. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and walking on this game, I don't want to say I feel great about Green Bay. This is the 3rd straight NFC contender where they have they fall short. Philly, they fell short week 1. The comeback against Minnesota fell short. Detroit, they fell short again. But again, kind of like what Danny said, I didn't really learn a lot about Detroit. They survived a 5-interception golf game against a competitive playoff team. We kind of know what they're about. This was a good classic golf game, accessing everything across the middle, get it to your guys out in space. Made some pretty good throws though. So I don't want to write this off as pure classic game manager game from golf, which it was, and that's a compliment. I promise. Love had a solid game. Took his deep shots, but where I was actually most impressed with Green Bay, Christian Watson, in my eyes, I will always look at Christian Watson and Quentin Johnston almost in the same light. In college, you got them the ball in space, and they just got busy. And why the Chargers don't necessarily use Quentin Johnston that way, mainly because he's not a great separator. Watson is a pretty decent separator. So they did a great job getting him over the middle, just getting him across Love's vision a lot of the time. And of course, he's going to be a great vertical threat as well. He's a supreme athlete. And I thought he had a really good day, 9 catches, 109 yards, I believe. It was just a great showing from him. And if they can get him constantly going across Love's vision, he can easily separate himself as the wide receiver 1 in that room based off his, you own talent. He's more athletic than anybody there. It's all a matter of catching the football and doing something after you catch it. So, hell of a game by him. Jaden Reed, just hope he bounces back this week. He's too talented to he's too just good of a football player to just have the game that he had, unfortunately. And I know Detroit's secondaries definitely improved. Even without Aiden Hutchinson, I'm still very impressed with this defense. You don't usually say that after a team gives up 30 points, but with the way I feel about the Packers anyway, I can't say I'm too disappointed. So, all in all, it looks like the Lions still do have to worry about the Vikings. They are just one loss back, but it looks like they're probably at this rate probably going to wrap up. The ones they'd have to lose 2 of their last 4, and Philly would have to keep winning. Which I'm not saying it can't happen, but they have a tough one coming up with Pittsburgh. So,
would we rather be in attendance for?
Yes, we will be there no matter what. Which 1 p.m. game did we want to start with? Did anybody have any preference at all?
The Falcons.
Want to start with the Falcons? Chris, I know we were half-heartedly joking earlier, but this is the second week in a row I'm asking this. Is it really Penix time?
No. It's not Penix time till next year. And the reason I say that, brother, let me tell you, man. The reason I say that is because I don't want to throw Penix into this shit, right? I don't want to throw him in there to where it's like, we still have a chance to make the playoffs. Now it's on you to step in after watching for 14 games and get 3 wins. Like, I don't want that for him. I'd rather him be able to sit, watch whatever unfolds over here, see what happens, and then start the next year fresh if you're going to do anything. Now, I am more so on the side of it's more Kirk Cousins fucking this up. And I hate saying that because I'm a Kirk Cousins fan, but at some point I got to look at my boy Kirk O'Chains and say, just what are you doing, man? And I think that's the biggest thing. So I don't disagree that it's Penix time, but kind of like I was saying about the Bears last week, I'd rather this scenario than the scenario I think they're going to do. Like I'd rather Penix wait and start fresh next year than come in and try to still have some ask of winning games if they're still trying to make the playoffs or whatever the case may be. Then him kind of falling up off Kirk that way. So that's kind of how I look at it.
I think Penix might come in and start like 2 years from now, dude. I just don't. I don't think with the amount of money Kirk's being paid, I don't see him moving on from an established veteran.
I think they'd rather waste money than a potential franchise quarterback. 2 years from now, Penix is going to be 26. I think that might be a little too long. At this point, it would actually probably be like 27. I think it's just a little bit too long, especially for how talented Michael Penix is. I think right out the gate, if he started, not starting him against the Vikings, correct move. You do not throw a guy with the injury history that Penix does against Brian Flores in his first career start. You're asking for issues there. But going forward, the things that I think Atlanta struggles with kind of revolve around Kirk Cousins being washed. He can't really step into throws like that anymore. His strongest thing used to be off the play action pass. When he turns his back to a defense, he can look back and he knows what he's looking at. At this point, he's not getting his eyes back around fast enough, and it's actually one of the weakest aspects of his game. No arm strength. I don't want to say it's like 15 Peyton Manning, because that might be the worst arm I've ever seen. But it's certainly getting up there. He's throwing some real lollipops out there. But I'm kind of on the same page as Chris, where it's like, we're still in this fight. Like, we can still win our division. We can still get a home playoff game. But it's hard to really sit back and be like, is our rookie quarterback better for us right now than this guy we just gave all this money to, who at spurts this year has been absolutely amazing? It's really tough to tell, because on paper, Penix, a much sharper arm than I think Kirk at this point, is mobile enough to avoid the sacks that Kirk cannot do. And he was a first-round pick. It's not even like Atlanta's line has been treacherous. Like, I'm not saying it's been great, but I think Penix could avoid some of the sacks that Kirk does. It's a matter of, can he get the ball out as fast as, Kirk obviously could probably read the defense better at this point. So it's definitely a tough decision. The only thing I can even consider close and Danny would know what I'm talking about. Jalen Hurts rookie year, the Eagles are in the fight. For lack of better terms, it was the most atrocious NFC East you'll ever see in your life. The Eagles were 3-6-1, I think, at this rate, and they're in the fight. They pull Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts goes in for some garbage time, throws a touchdown. They don't win. Jalen starts the next week. They're still in playoff contention, but this one's even weirder because like it's not like Carson Wentz was just old. He was just playing bad. I guess Kirk is kind of doing the same thing. I don't know. Maybe it's not like a 1-to-1, but it's the only thing I can even think of. Go ahead, Chris. I know you're about to say something.
No, I think this is my question for the Falcons. Obviously, we don't have to answer here. What was Kirk's purpose? I think to your point, and I think to Danny's point as well. Are they more comfortable with losing out on the money spent or losing out on a possible franchise guy you drafted in the first round? Because I think this raised the question to me because it's like, was Kirk's plan to be there for 3 years and starting 3 years where you at best is Penix playing at 27, 28, or was it to be like for a year bridge and then year and a half? Like what was the plan? And
that's
I think
why the situation.
It's
so like you're correct. It's so disastrous that you gave a guy off the Achilles that much money, and then the guy, like if you're gonna draft a guy and let him sit, McCarthy would have been the guy, the 21-year-old out of Michigan who, while maybe had no film, wasn't bad film. I had him over Penix as a prospect, but you took the older prospect who's probably ready to play now, and it's just so disastrous. Like you're completely right for entirely questioning it, but me personally,
think that best bet is someone looking for an out. Right, say something happens with the Jets to where Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to come back there. Maybe they're looking for a patch for a year or two. Maybe they take on if they can even do. That's my only way I even see them like get like the best of both worlds in this sense where they get off the money and they get to play their guy. I just don't see it, any other way right now. Not the Jets, but any team.
Yeah, no, it's going to be hard. Like if Kirk continues on this trajectory, he hasn't thrown a touchdown in like a month, and he's thrown 8 picks. Like I don't even if this keeps going and they don't make the playoffs and they end it disastrously, you are either going to have to cut him, and that's going to be a lot of dead cap, or you're going to have to trade him, and no one's going to want that, unless the Falcons agree to like keep paying this contract, kind of like the Osweiler thing. But that's just so. I mean, like.
Maybe the Giants need him because they take a quarterback who's not ready for a year or two. Like that's my only way of seeing this happen. Like where they get to play Penix and then they get to move on from Kirk and it doesn't.
Yeah, my only idea with Atlanta or like New York, like the Giants taking him on, maybe is like they draft Cam Ward. Cam Ward is relatively raw. I think he'll be a lot faster. He'll be ready a lot faster than other guys, but
I agree.
But there is another team in this that absolutely walked these dudes in the fourth quarter, specifically. Vikings look great. Jordan Addison had a big day. Justin Jefferson finally found his way into the end zone. Sam Darnold, 5 touchdown passes. No. Yes, Jefferson 2 touchdowns. Addison 3 touchdowns. I started Jefferson in fantasy, of course, as one does if you have him on your football team. And then not the guy I was playing, another guy that I needed to lose to get into the playoffs, benched Addison. So that was great. But, I mean, like, is there anything we really – I think after that mid-year skid by the Vikings offense, they're kind of just right back where they were. With Sam Darnold, if you throw a weak defense in front of him, he'll make you pay. If you make him hold on to the ball and make him do some questionable things, he'll do questionable things. But y'all have anything to say about the Vikings specifically? I think they're sitting at 11-2 or 10-2? They're 11-2 now, right?
Only thing I could say, maybe we missed out on putting Addison and Jettas in that 2 duo conversation because 5 touchdowns. I mean,
it was all off the strength of Addison because like Jefferson alone will put him in the top 5.
Yeah,
Addison plays even half as good as this on a consistent basis. Oh, they're easily number 1 in my opinion. Because Jefferson is just that good, and if Addison could put up like 70 yards a game, like, we're talking.
I mean, Jordan Addison. We know what Jordan Addison was. Kenny Pickett showed us what he was.
Kenny.
Was that good or bad?
That's my point. He made Kenny Pickett a Heisman candidate.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I was going to say,
is that
are
good
we
or bad?
insisting Kenny made Jordan Addison? No, I get what you mean.
Jordan Addison made Kenny Pickett a Heisman candidate.
Addison won the Bolitnikoff with him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
He got
different.
worse. He got
was
worse
different.
at USC.
That is Lincoln Riley's fault.
I know, but he did. Like let's acknowledge.
No, he did, but that's Lincoln Riley's fault.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, which is it happens. But
Kenny Pickett, man, he played better than Caleb Williams in college.
Yeah, we ain't doing that, man. We're not doing that. One of the best Heisman seasons in recent memory. We're not doing that. Nonetheless,
he didn't have a fake slide though. He didn't make them change the rules.
He didn't do that. He didn't do that. Well, they didn't change the rules because MJ. They changed the rules for MJ.
Yeah, I know.
Let's not get it twisted. What game would we like to talk about next? Do we want to
talk about Bryce Young improvement?
We want to talk about Eagles Dolphins?
Every week, this guy keeps getting better.
My main note for him was stats don't tell it. I think he had the best player of his career. Literally, in your own end zone, you roll right, you come back left, you break a foreshore sack at a soaking wet 195 pounds off your back foot, layered throw over the linebacker before the cover 3 corner in the lap of Xavier Legette. Just a marvelous throw. He was outstanding. Stats won't show.
Let's not talk about how Xavier Legette dropped the game-winning touchdown.
He did. And here's the thing. I was saying the moment the Eagles punted the ball back to Carolina, I said they didn't get the up 6 memo. You do not give the ball back up 6.
That's what I said.
Find a way to make it a 2-possession game. They do it. The Panthers are hungry. Adam Thielen is eating Cooper DeJean alive. Cooper DeJean's kryptonite is white people. Isn't that unfortunate? But and Nick Sirianni almost paid for it. Nah, I get it. You can't get into a comfortable range and kick 50 yarders anymore. You do have the second most washed kicker in the league. But yeah, I mean Xavier Legette, he had the game in his hands. I can't believe he dropped that. He had the I don't know. It was ridiculous. And even so, I still thought the Panthers offense was moving. Unfortunately, Jonathan Brooks did tear his ACL again.
Re-tear.
Chuba Hubbard had a pretty decent game against a stout Eagles run. Again, decent game. I'm not gonna, he wasn't chopping them up crazy, but
is Chuba Hubbard and Kyron Williams the same person? They just switch jerseys and go to different places.
Yeah, I'm not.
Do they?
I'm not gonna lie. Chuba, and it's so crazy because Kyron Williams was really good last year, right? A lot of touches, a lot of yards. Chuba. Chuba Hubbard was not good. He was not.
He was okay.
Last year was not good. Was not a good running back. He was duking it out with Miles Sanders for touches. That kind of lets me know everything about you. This year is just completely. He looks slimmer. His contact balance is way better. He had the worst contact balance in the league last year. It was Zach Ertz-esque, and Danny knows what I'm talking about. Zach Ertz can't break a tackle. So, Chuba was great. Is great this year. Rightfully got that extension. He's only been balling since he had that fumble. Of course, you can't rep OBO like that, dude. But hey, let me swing it to y'all about the Panthers-Eagles game because I'm gonna say only amazing things about the Eagles. That was sarcastic, but what'd you guys think? I mean, 22-16, very ugly win for Philadelphia, but they do win a tied for franchise record 9 straight games.
Let's put it out this way. The MVP of the league comes down to the most valuable player. And right now, I still think it's Josh Allen, but Saquon Barkley proved his worth today. When Jalen Hurts can only throw for 125, 135 yards, whatever it is, and you're winning the football game, putting up 23 points, 22 points, it's on the back of Saquon Barkley. These runs are – he'll turn a negative 2-yard run into a 5-yard run. And that just – if you're a football player, that helps elevate drives. When you get a negative 2-yard run, you're behind the chains, and third down, you're 3rd and 7, and at best, and the drive's over. So Saquon Barkley is the real reason.
Yeah, Chris. Any words about this game? For either team.
I think the words I have for the Eagles are: you have to win these type of games if you're going to do something in the playoffs. You have to win those games where it's ugly, where you almost jag one to a team you're not supposed to, and they won it. And I think that's just the signs of a good team, even with AJ Brown being upset. No, I wouldn't even say upset. Just being a competitor and people putting a camera on it so they see him wanting to compete. I don't think that's upset. You know what I'm saying? I think that's different. And I think this is a game you just have to win. But also on the same side for the Panthers, I think it's a good game against a really good team. I think it's just, even though it was an ugly game, I think it was a good game for the Panthers. I think I've seen Bryce Young play some really good football. If a couple of playmakers make a couple more plays, maybe the outcomes may be different. I think Bryce Young played really well. And I think if you're the Panthers, that's kind of what you got to be stacking on. Bryce Young, Chuba, and Leggett, if having good games, and the 2 or 3 of them did well. I think Leggett has some decent plays, but made a couple blunders as well. I think it's a game you can take if the Panthers be like, hey, we went out there, play hard, and gave it all we had. There's one of those type of games. And for the Eagles, it's like, well, we didn't play our best. We had a couple things that didn't go our way. Still won. At the end of the day, you won. And I think that's kind of what you got to take away from both teams. That's what I would do.
I do want to note, it's kind of funny. If Caleb Williams didn't exist, people would be talking about Bryce Young as this like biggest memeable quarterback in the league, dude. Like he started praying like when another dude like just went down for a sec. He'll smile at everything. Like it was about like the entire time. Like Bryce, I feel like I don't know. Like it's really easy to make fun of him in like an enjoyable way.
Yeah, Bryce Young is probably like the people's quarterback, if I had to say right now.
Yeah, like he's having the ball.
The undersized, underdog, number 1 overall pick quarterback. Now, mind you, rightfully so, never wrong just early. Of course, you should have went number 1, but
Justin Fields number 1.
I mean, this is like what this has to be the most ethical tank. What'd you say?
Justin Fields should have went number 1.
Anyway, this is probably the most ethical tank job of all time by Carolina. We're talking 3 straight, 1 possession. You make the Chiefs have to win off a game-winning field goal. You make the Buccaneers have to win in overtime. The Eagles have to get a 4th down stop on what could have been your 98-yard game-winning drive by Bryce Young. This is like, look, and mind you, if they win these 3 games, of course, if they win these 3 games, they are, they're 6-7 and in the thick of their division. But that's not how things go. But ethical tank job, you're probably gonna have to draft defense, but it'd be really cool if you got him, Chet McMillan,
Travis Hunter.
They'd have to be up there.
That's what I want to see right there.
They'd have to be up there for
not
sure.
Send him to Jacksonville to die. Anything.
I don't think Jacksonville could take best player available, take Travis, but I think they should really go line. That's just my preference. But we'll see. Well, it depends. Yeah, I mean, depends what we'll see. Depends who's at number 1. If Vegas is at 1, it is no secret they want Shedeur Sanders. Take the guy you want, but you could probably fall back at Carolina to take 1 again, and they could just take Sanders wherever you want him, because I think the only 2 teams that could probably justify taking a quarterback in the first round are New York or the Giants and the Raiders, and I only think those Ward and Sanders will go in the first round anyway.
May I ask you another question?
Sure.
2 more teams. The Seahawks and the Steelers.
If the Steelers waste a first-round pick on a quarterback that isn't Ward or Sanders, that's a bad pick.
If Cam Ward falls in the first round to the Steelers, I think they take him.
He's not falling that far. Absolutely no way.
They might wind up taking. They could.
I don't think he's getting past the Giants.
In the end of the first.
Trust me, Milroe's going to be there for a while. You're good. Don't take him in the first. He's going to be there. Milroe's my guy. He's going to be there for a while. I'm going to be honest. I already see the whole thing. What Drake say? Oh, I just made the whole connection. Drew Aller is going to jump some boards, unrightfully so, dude. But I can see it happening already. He's going to be the tools guy with the strong arm, not Milroe, who has an absolute rocket and is a better athlete than Aller. Yeah, Aller made that one sick throw down double digits. Is this the dagger ass touchdown? And if we just took Drew Aller #1? Get the fuck out of here, man, dude. I'm not for it.
Oh, when Drew Aller leads his team to the national championship.
Shh, talk soon. We'll talk about that though. But yeah, for the Eagles, I mean, like the pass game obviously wasn't strong yesterday. A lot of Jalen Hurts being hesitant, not trusting his own arm. And it kind of just comes down to reps. Looking at the Eagles in the past 4 weeks specifically has kind of been like this Saquon tear. They're #1 by far in rushing EPA and rush success rate. And that's kind of why you keep going to it, of course, if that's working. But it kind of hurts because Jalen Hurts, he can't get in this flow that he, against Cincinnati specifically, was on a tear over the middle, hitting A.J. Brown. For one drive against the Ravens, him and A.J. Brown torched the Ravens for one single drive and then never went back to it. A.J. Brown was eating them alive. All the stuff over the middle, deep down the sideline, he had old-ass Humphrey on him. None he could do with him.
That demon Marlon turned up in that second half. He said, no more of this mess.
See, and I don't even – I want to give Marlon his flowers, of course, in the second half. But in the second half, it's like Kellen Moore called a completely different game. It was like, oh, we get the lead. All right, we're done. Yeah, we're chilling. It's very Chiefs-esque. The Chiefs, funny enough, are second in rush EPA over the last 4 weeks. It's kind of like, hey, we'll get the lead or we'll get it down to one possession and then we're just not giving the ball back.
3 runs every
possession. Chiefs
pass.
are leading the league in walk them down is basically the best way to put it. Methodical, short but long play drives, like short yardage, long play drives. And the Eagles are kind of doing the same thing, but I would really like over these next couple weeks, maybe not the Steelers, or maybe the Steelers. Their corners are very questionable at this moment, but start testing that. We got to test the ball down the field more. We got to get deep over the middle again. I don't know. Minka's hasn't necessarily been Minka Fitzpatrick this year, but I also don't know if that's the guy you want to test deep over the middle. If it's A.J. Brown, sure, we know how that goes, but I think they just need to start finding a rhythm. I'm not worried about Jalen Hurts. I've watched him put up some of the best. I watched him put up one of the best Super Bowl performances of all time. He's had really good performances this year. He's outdueled Joe Burrow. He's outdueled several other quarterbacks. Not really worried. He ain't turning the ball over. It's just, I think once he regains his confidence through repetition, they'll be okay. Next game I did want to go to, though, was Dolphins-Jets. With the Dolphins did look back, and I think the main key as to why they look back is because Mike McDaniels decided Tyreek Hill is going to be back. His route tree was like a spider web. It was everywhere. Got him all over the field, and Tua was he was throwing with anticipation this game. Read, get it out. Screens, short stuff, RPOs, all the stuff to Hill. Hill had 10 catches. This is exactly what you want to see from the Miami offense. And then first drive of overtime, Jonnu Smith finally shows up. But yeah, I'd have to agree with Danny. I mean, after a rough game against Green Bay on Thanksgiving, this is exactly how you bounce back if you're trying to fight for a playoff spot. Did you guys have any thoughts on this game? Obviously, Rodgers probably had his best game as a Jet. Same with Devontae Adams.
It was frustrating in a good way. I was like, damn it. This is what the team could look like if Aaron Rodgers stopped changing the play every time he got up there. Or maybe it was because Breece Hall wasn't out there. Maybe just didn't. But, bro, I don't know. The Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson duo looked like the one we was chatting about on here when it first started. They looked elite. I really liked what I seen there. And it was just like, dang, maybe 6 weeks ago they could have got this going. We could have had something cool for the Jets, but no. And I think that was a part that kind of sucked. Like it looked like a really well-oiled machine as far as offense for a good portion of that game. So that's what I took away from it. Like the damn game. Like, damn, this could have been really good. Yeah, literally. They was like, oh, y'all want to see a good offensive game from us? Here, damn. And then now we get no more. That's exactly what I got.
Yeah, it's just a whole dumpster fire. Danny, any words on this game? Anything about the Dolphins or Jets?
Yeah, Tyreek Hill's touchdown to send it to overtime, and then Jalen Waddle's catch. They are evident proof of who they are. You saw Tyreek Hill motion across, run this magnificent out route. So, I don't know many other receivers that can run that route. So that's all I have to say.
Other games from our 1 p.m. slate, we had Jags Titans, which should have been played on like a Tuesday afternoon, which I watched a decent amount of, believe it or not, but man, what an ugly game.
Calvin really didn't get the first down on purpose.
That's yeah. And him of all people, man, he can't be doing that.
All I want to do is check his FanDuel account. That's all.
Yeah. We have Steelers, Browns. Steelers, they throttled the Browns. I mean, Russell Wilson didn't throw for a ton of yards today, but I thought he played really well.
Not George Pickens.
Yeah, without Pickens, he made use of Van Jefferson, scored a touchdown. Mike Williams had a big catch along the
Scotty
sideline.
Miller, big catch.
Scotty Miller led the team in yards at some point. And Pat Freiermuth got in the end zone, of course. I would love to see Russ start to really pick it up with Freiermuth, especially heading into the playoffs. I would like to see Freiermuth. Look, you don't really have a good wide receiver, too. Get this guy the ball, like, a lot. There were years with the Eagles where, like, okay, Alshon was our wide receiver 1. And, like, the 2 was Torrey Smith, and he's not necessarily Ravens Torrey Smith at this point. He was good. He was still really good, made some clutch catches. But they made a lot of use of Zach Ertz, who honestly was probably the best player on the offense. But I would like to see – it doesn't have to be that extreme because I know Ertz is really good. But, like, Freiermuth, I think he needs a lot more usage on this team. And then the defense was – they mauled the Browns.
Like, yeah, and I do want to say, just in time for AFC North Hard Knocks, the Steelers could be when the Steelers play the Ravens in 2 weeks now. It will be for the Steelers potentially clinching the division, or the Ravens potentially keep themselves afloat in the division race. So we'll be for a home playoff game on the line 4 days before Christmas.
Yep, and this is what Ravens Steelers is all about.
And Chris, I said it before the year. I said the Steelers would be playing the Ravens. That December 21st game is going to be for the division. And everyone called me crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, rightfully so. No.
Yes.
I mean, I understand it. I understand it.
Rightfully so.
Danny's flowers for that. Danny was correct, and I was fighting him being correct because him being correct proves 2 things to me that I was wrong on. The Ravens dominating and Justin Fields being the starter. So that saddened me on both sides. So I just didn't want him to be right for that reason.
That's fair. I thought Fields was going to be a starter, honestly. But no, when Russ took over, and I can't complain, to say the least.
Yeah. Gotta let Russ cook. Gotta let Russ cook, as they say.
The graphics are peak. The graphics they've been making are pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to move on to Seahawks and Cardinals, though. This
close, dude.
I could say the world about how the offense is really starting to come together. Charbonnet had a really solid day yesterday with Kenneth Walker out. JSN, this is what it's all about with him, getting him across the field, letting him run. He can run any route in the tree. Let him do it. You see the results. He's, I believe, top 8, definitely top 10 in receiving yards this year. And it just completely, I don't even want to say like unpredictable, but it's just like, how would he look in his first year running a real route tree in the NFL? You see the results. When Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave were saying he would be the best of the group, that wasn't just smoke. I'm not going to say he's had a better year than Garrett Wilson. I can say that, but I don't want to say he's better than him at this.
You said Jackson Smith and Jigba, number 5 in receiving yards.
He's cracked the top 5. Well, there we go. Yep. That just shows how great he's been this year. He was the wide receiver 1 in that class, I think, pretty evidently, and he started really to put it forward. Him and Addison have really been repping that, and Zay Flowers. Those 3 have really been repping that class well. A class that was considered a weaker class. Now, not to say any of these guys are super elite wide receiver 1s. I will say though, 2 of these guys have already became the wide receiver 1 for their team, and the one that isn't is paired next to what I think is going to be a top 5 receiver to ever play the game. So,
is DK Metcalf expendable? Is he?
I would hope not.
I don't think expendable, but I do think that Jackson Smith and Jigba is the wide receiver 1 on this team.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Linking up with Let Russ Cook this offseason in Pittsburgh.
Wouldn't you love that?
You do that.
And watch how fast Pickens burns down the practice facility. Because if he watch how mad he gets, and the facility's coming down.
Yeah, that'd be that would be something if y'all traded for DK. But I think they're gonna keep DK around because
I agree.
Still likes going to him too. Here's the real thing I want to. First of all, I always say because I'm gonna go on like a tangent about the Seahawks defense. But did y'all have any words, anything about the Cardinals? Danny, rough day. rough day for K1FC. I'm not gonna lie.
Disappointing. That's what I'm disappointed in the Cardinals. I was expecting a little more. I ain't gonna say they had to win, but damn, like come on.
They started 6-4. Like this is like, now why would you show me something if I can't have it for the rest of the year?
I'm gonna tell you something. The Cardinals, it doesn't fall on Kyler Murray. The fact that Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch are your starting receivers says something about the organization.
His weapons aren't great, but yesterday can absolutely go on Kyler Murray. The interceptions he threw were horrible. Bad picks. And this is also kind of away from Kyler Murray, but it still kind of revolves around him as well. This offense will not get off the ground unless you abuse the usage of Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. Throwing anyone else the ball, I don't want to say it's a waste of time. They're probably great guys, but Marvin Harrison needs 10 targets a game. Trey McBride needs 8 to 10 targets a game. Like, whatever has to be done, get Marvin Harrison in the slot. Get him to Kyler's right side, which he prefers throwing to. Get Kyler outside the pocket and looking for Marvin Harrison across the field. It's very like year one JSN-esque where with the routes that they have him running. It's complete just bad usage of Marvin Harrison Jr. So I hope they figure something out with that. But
yeah,
Kyler had a rough start yesterday. I don't want the next couple quarters he picked it back up, but of course your numbers are going to look good over the next 3 quarters when you put your own team down. So complete wash of a game.
He started off really hot and then he looked really bad.
Oh, didn't he throw 2 picks in the first quarter?
Yeah, but he threw that long touchdown.
Would you consider, starting hot way early in the beginning? Is that starting hot or I don't know? Starting hot would be like 2 touchdowns, but nonetheless, point I want to make about the Seahawks defense, Mike Macdonald finally has these boys rolling. They've essentially over the last 4 weeks been the best defense of football. They're top 5 in every single EPA metric, EPA per play, dropback EPA, success rate in both rush and dropback. Second in several of those categories. Things just look different. And I think, okay, you start 4-5. After a 3-0 start, you're 4-5. What even are you as a football team? You have no identity. Your offense is middle of the pack. Your defense is below average to middle of the pack at this point. And then they're 4-4, and then they lose the overtime game to the Rams. It's like, this is a backbreaker. You go into San Fran and you get a win, which I thought they didn't have the nuts for. Then they beat the Cardinals first at home, and then you dominate them on the road. In between those, you start out horrible. Your special teams had a horrendous game, and you're down 14-0 to start. You're down 21-7. You still end up beating the Jets because this defense was throwing looks that had Aaron Rodgers seeing ghosts. He's played a lot of football. Mike Macdonald has to be like cooking up with like Brian Flores and the Soul Reapers to draw up something to get him spooked. And in this one, it was even more crazy stuff. Kobe Bryant had the pick. Julian Love has really come on strong, especially over the back half of this season. I can't say enough about the front guys, especially Leonard Williams, who is really starting to pick it up. One interception and a pick 6 against the Jets. But I can't say enough about this defense. This is kind of like the idea of what people were thinking. It was a matter of can these guys put it into fruition. And like Tariq Woolen had Harrison Jr. in the cellar for a couple plays. I thought he did really well. And mind you, there was a point where he got benched last year. So shout out Mike Macdonald. He has his boys rolling. Ravens fans are yearning. They need him back bad, but time will tell. Maybe the reunion will happen when you fire John Harbaugh.
The day we fire John Harbaugh is the day they cut Justin Tucker, which is going to be December 32nd. I'll tell you that right now. They both have to walk away.
February 30th.
Literally.
Other 4 p.m. games, the Bears got absolutely washed by the 49ers, and 49ers bounce back win. They're still in the thick of the playoff hunt and their own division race if they, keep winning games.
I'm proud of the Bears for that.
And then the only thing I had to say about Bucs Raiders, Baker Mayfield needs to calm the hell down. The reason why Baker worked so well for stints for the short Cleveland stint and then last year is because you just weren't giving the ball away at an excessive rate. You let the Raiders into this game because you just keep forcing the ball where it doesn't need to go. Relax. Not everything has to be a 10-plus yard throw. You know, he's lucky he has the GOAT, Bucky Irving, and he had a good game from Rashad White too. But that's my only advice to Baker Mayfield. Yes, me, the guy sitting in a chair talking to a camera with a couple of guys. I should tell Baker Mayfield what he should do. He should chill. It's not that deep, guy. Now, and then of course, the absolute game of the week that we have to talk about. Rams Bills. Rams win a shootout. Probably a top 3 quarterback duel so far this year behind Lamar and Burrow, and then probably Lamar and Burrow again. What do you guys think of this one? Danny, I would say we can start with Danny. He predicted this one.
Yeah, here's the way I saw it coming. I saw that the Rams are one of the few teams in the NFL that have the offense to compete with Josh Allen. Josh Allen is going to answer any shot that you take. Like, Josh Allen's legit. You're going to throw a deep ball. Josh Allen's going to say, guess what? Shakir, boom. 40-yard rush, boom. He's going to answer. But what the Rams have is the ability. Their defense might not be great, but they have the ability with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Stafford at the helm. Kyron Williams is going to give you an above-average running back play, even with a so-so O-line. That's what I saw with the Rams. And this was just like peak football. You had one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. In my opinion, one of the best quarterback talents of all time. Versus like the Rams' complete offense. And I think this is the Rams that, if we see in the playoffs, is going to be scary. Any team coached by Sean McVay with an okay so-so defense that has elite weapons on the team, it's scary. So that's what I saw.
Yeah, and now mind you, when we're debating, upper echelon of playoff contender and stuff, it's if this offense rolls out every week, shit, I might as well pick them to win a Super Bowl. That's unstoppable stuff right there. It's just a matter of finding this on a consistent basis. Why did this same offense, mind you, the Bills are still one of the best defenses in the NFL despite the injuries. Why can they put up 44 on them and then you only give me truthfully, you really only gave me 13 points against the Eagles. But you got a garbage time touchdown and you walk out of there with 20. Why are you only giving me 15 points against the Dolphins?
Maybe the Eagles defense is like that.
Is the Dolphins defense like that? They shouldn't be like that to the point to shut these guys down. Granted, I don't think Puka and Kupp were both back at this rate, but
they weren't.
Nonetheless,
the only real reason would probably be the Saints.
Yeah, but nonetheless, the Rams, like Danny said, they essentially played a flawless game. Puka Nacua put on an absolute masterclass. Y'all know how I feel about him. This is one of the 7 or 8 best receivers in football, and quite frankly, if he starts to stack some of these games, I'm gonna start putting him up there because he already had the historic rookie year, and now he has Kupp next to his side for the entire year, and Matt Stafford is like, this is still my guy. This is still my guy, and he's making these crazy catches on the sideline. He can catch screen passes and pick up some yak yards. He can win downfield. He is in my opinion, like a maxed out Ladd McConkey. He's just a little bit stronger, so he's a little bit better after the catch, but nothing crazy. Ladd's still good. I think Ladd might be a little bit better of a route salesman, but
he reminds me.
Man, I'm like Puka Nacua is just so good.
Let me put this in perspective. Puka Nacua has played 8 games this year. The receivers with less yardage: Jordan Addison, Jaden Reed, Jalen Waddle, Jonnu Smith, Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Josh Downs, Mike Evans missed a few games. He's right around the same range as A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill. He's in that echelon.
Is he where? If you have it up right now, could you tell me where Puka ranks in receiving yards?
Puka ranks 30th, but playing 8 games because he missed.
8 games. Yeah. I mean, nonetheless, we know if he plays a full season, you know what he's about. Greatest rookie receiver of all time, as they would say. But, Chris, I want to swing to you because you know all about MVP level performances and losses. What are your thoughts on Allen's MVP odds getting better despite the loss?
It's almost like when you go to Krispy Kreme and the hot sign is on, and it's just like, oh, this is adding extra glaze to it right before they put it out. That's what it is. They're glazing Josh out. No, but I'll be aside. It was an MVP performance. It just didn't win. That's the messed up part about it. Like 5 touchdowns. Like that was an elite 6. Sorry, he had the late one. 6 touchdowns. Did he have any turnovers? Did he have 1 turnover or no?
Nope. No turnovers.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like, bro, if they win that game, he won MVP already. Like it's not even just odds going up; it's sealed and delivered. And so, but I do say I think it was an MVP performance just in an L. Now, fortunately enough for Josh Allen, every week he doesn't have to defend MVP that he won twice already. So even him losing this already, he won't really go down much. It'll still be, oh, Josh Allen's had a great game.
Josh Allen's Joel Embiid, bro.
Josh Allen is just the opposite of Lamar Jackson. Whatever he is the opposite of that. And I will say this about Josh Allen though. And I think that I want to say. Was it Chris Collinsworth? No, Chris Collinsworth did the Mahomes game. It was someone else who said sometimes Josh Allen having to be Superman. He hasn't had to do it yet. That was Superman. It just didn't end up in a win, but that was the MVP performance in my opinion. They just lost. So I agree with it. Like I think he should be the odds-on favorite after that game, and I think that even proves most valuable because if he doesn't have 6 touchdowns, they don't have any. And I mean, you can say that about a quarterback a lot of times, but he manufactured a lot of those, even the ones he didn't run in. So I think it's an MVP performance for sure.
Yeah,
he's so good.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I still think he's the front runner. He's the front runner until Saquon breaks the rushing record in 16 games. But with Allen, who wants me to play a little bit of devil's advocate? Because I think I do. You only throw that many times because you're losing, and these 1-yard rushing touchdowns count now. Come on, guys, those don't count. Those don't count. He's getting pushed in. He's not even doing anything. Those don't count, right? Because that's what I have to hear every week. They don't count. They don't count. So really, he has 3 touchdowns. Really, he has 2 touchdowns because it was a screen pass. He didn't even really do anything. That's what I have to hear. But anyway, it's just I think okay. This is fine to up his odds after a spectacular performance because it literally put the definition of most valuable on his name. I think the odds, off the top of my head, I think he's minus 400. I think Saquon's plus 250. Lamar Jackson's like plus 1,800. I'm like, that is absolutely ridiculous. Because if you go back and look at all his losses that aren't to the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's a masterclass. Maybe the Eagles is the box score won't tell you anything. Lamar wasn't great that game, but all the other losses, he was phenomenal. Absolutely amazing in those games. And it just you lost. We don't care. But with Allen, it's like, damn, this really might be a here damn MVP. That's
it's coming.
Wait, TJ Watt's
it's not like okay. Let me not say here damn because he is deserving of it, but when you stack the way his narrative is pushed against some other guys, it's kind of like they're kind of bending it that way to get him said MVP. But they could just make the narrative consistent for everybody, and you could still argue Josh Allen is the runaway MVP. Mm-hmm. But it just by adding these said weird narratives, it just sets a bad precedence.
I think him and Saquon are the most valuable players this year. I think they're the most valuable. That's fair. Now, I think the most valuable and best player are 2 different things, but I think they've 2 been the most valuable to his team. And I think weapons, like just side by side, you take Saquon's off the Eagles, they can still make a playoff run. You take Josh Allen, they're looking at Shedeur or Cam, not just because they don't have Josh Allen. They just would need a quarterback to do anything. So I think
they got the 2020 vision. They're looking at Arch.
See what I'm saying? So it's like I think that's what it should come down to. It reminds me of my Derrick Rose, Dwight Howard MVP argument back when D Rose won it. I thought Derrick Rose was damn near the best player in the NBA that year, not named LeBron James, but I think Dwight Howard was the most valuable player to his team and at that point in time. And this reminds me of that race where I think Josh Allen could damn near have been he probably the most valuable, but I think Saquon or Lamar, but I think Saquon over Lamar has been the best player in football this year. So I think it's gonna come down to that type of thing. Which one?
Yeah. I mean, Saquon all but has Offensive Player of the Year wrapped up if he stays at this pace. Updated Saquon pace, by the way, if we want to get it in 16 games. So in the next 3 games, he's going to have to average 160 yards a game. So it ain't looking great. But if he wants to break it in 17, he just has to keep his pace of 120 yards a game, which he's been doing. So that's doable. I would really like to break it in 16 so we don't have to hear any about, oh, well, he had extra, whatever. Final game of, real quick, Dwight Howard did not have a single post move to his name and took that team to the finals. All because people just wanted to double team him, knowing he couldn't put the ball on the floor and drop his shoulder into somebody. Shout out Hito Turkoglu, though. Going to the last game was Chiefs-Chargers. Now, me and Danny, we hinted at this a little bit earlier. We were talking about, is it devil magic? Did the Chiefs get all the bounces their way? In this case, literally, yes. But kind of just looking, if the Chiefs, if they missed that field goal, that is unlucky. That is a chip shot that Mahomes, they started to kneel it out. They're like, oh, this is a chip shot. Like, no way he's about to miss. If he missed it, that would be unlucky. Okay, he hits the inside of the upright and it goes in. Like, that's embarrassing for the kicker, but I wouldn't necessarily call that lucky. And my favorite thing about the Chiefs is people will always fall back on the luck, the double magic thing. The Chiefs are, again, like I said earlier, elite at these long sustained drives where they run the ball, dink and dunk. They don't really have anybody to take the top off of a defense. That's kind of been the success to beating Patrick Mahomes, even though Mahomes has kind of learned not to force the ball downfield anymore. Some may say they get all the lucky bounces. I say they're disciplined. I say you make a stake against, you give Mahomes the ball back with a certain amount of time and he's only down 1, you're getting smoked. Like, you don't do that. That's, how do the Chiefs always find themselves in situation to have a game-winning drive? Because you gave it to them. Why do they have a position? The only team this year, granted, this is the only game they lost, but the only team that did not let them have a chance at a last chance win was the Bills, because they went up 2 possessions, not enough time for Mahomes to get the ball back. So I have no doubt about the 12-1 back-to-back champs. I'm starting to see the vision of Reed and Mahomes, where it's just like, hey,
he understands it now.
I guess so. It's like, we're not like, this playbook seems so watered down. I'm not trying to be like, oh, just wait till the playoffs, they're gonna bust out some crazy stuff. But it's just like they're clearly not in their bag. They're clearly just, I'm going to be honest, it seems like they're just walking through these games. Now, obviously, they're not really. You go into an NFL football game giving it everything you have. But it's kind of like, we're not going to go bombs away on everybody. We're not, we're not bringing out all the extravagant stuff against Carolina on a 1 p.m. game in November. We're not. This is division rival game. They don't even got Lad McConkey. Like, we're cool. Like, we can just play it out to the end. It's probably like the talent gap is going to take care of itself and we're going to win the game. So that's just my opinion.
I'm going to tell you a pure name. It's Rashee Rice. His presence not being on the field changes everything in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that their playoff success is going to come down to Juju Smith-Schuster and Travis Kelce separating. Can they do it at their ages? Can they continue to separate? We've seen Kelce do it. Juju does it here and there. They kind of scheme him open, but can they separate when it comes down to the wire? So that's what I think their playoff success comes to.
How good will Hollywood look off of injury? Time will tell. But you'd think anyone would be a damn fool. Because last year I was like, oh, the wide receivers could lose them a playoff game. Like, it's that bad. And they didn't end up losing. Now, mind you, that could be the case this year. But you know what? No. I got to a point with Tom Brady. I was like, look, his receivers suck, but he ain't dead until I see the dirt put over his casket. I feel the same thing about Patrick Mahomes. I feel the same way about the Astros too. But none of that. Chris, do you have any words on this Chiefs-Chargers game? I mean, it wasn't all fireworks, but
I don't have any good words. I only have bad juju to put into the air for the Chiefs because nothing can beat them. Honestly, unfortunately, I've been going to see this witch lady. I gave her a piece of my hair. I'm gonna bring some more items over there to see what I can do. I'm gonna bring a Travis Kelce doll, Taylor Swift CD. We're gonna do some work because this just can't keep happening. No, but same thing I said about the Eagles though. Just an ugly game you got to win if you want to be around when it matters. It's just one of those games you got to win where everything ain't going the right way. You're not doing everything right. It's just one of those, and they found a way to win another. The doink for the division. I think that's so cool to say because they did doink for the division, and they did it. Because we've seen Mahomes put on masterclass after masterclass. Maybe it's his time for some time to where somebody else does it for him, bails him out. And I'm going to use the word bail him out because he had to put him in position, but, kind of win the game for him. And I think this is what happens. I think you say the Mahomes magic for postseason, which makes it rough for all of our teams.
Yeah. One thing I want to say about the Chargers, I mean, nothing that hasn't already been said. Like, they just need more offensive weapons for Herbert to throw to. Ladd's out this game, and can I let off a woke take? Herbert was more Superman than Josh Allen this week. With what he had to throw to even crack 200 yards and have your team winning when you left the football field, you're amazing. You are so good, dude. That's ridiculous. He was throwing to, I think Josh Palmer was the leading receiver. No way. Like, come on. That's not serious. That's not a serious football team without Ladd McConkey. And, like once they sign T. Higgins or they get another guy, we're looking at one of the top offenses of the NFL. And shout out to Chargers defense. Harbaugh has done a great job with them. So, moving on to our little last bit of this where we don't really talk about college football often, but they did release the 12-team playoff. First ever 12-team playoff. Your 4 bye weeks were, if you haven't seen it already, Oregon was the 1 seed, 2 seed was Georgia, 3 seed was Boise State, 4 seed was Arizona State, and the 12th seed was the last conference champ, the Clemson Tigers. And then your 5 through 11 was Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Tennessee, Indiana, and then SMU. There's a couple hot topics, but just to get the quick one out of the way, Danny, SMU over Bama, good decision, bad decision?
I mean, I think Bama is a better football team, but I think SMU deserves it more, and I think that's a fine take.
I agree. That's exactly because even looking at it, SMU doesn't have said conference championship, and they're 11-1. Now they're 11-2. You can't punish them for being super tight in a super good game in their conference championship. So I agree. And it seems so simple. And it seems so simple. And it's like a lot of people are saying, all right, well, Alabama should never schedule a hard out-of-conference game again. Not only did SMU have a harder out-of-conference schedule than Alabama, Alabama's losses didn't come from that. They just lost to mediocre SEC teams. They lost to Oklahoma by 3 scores. They lost to Vanderbilt. And then who was their third loss? I know they kept it close with South Carolina, but they're a good team. Let's do that. I can't remember their third loss. Was it Tennessee?
It was a bad team.
Yeah, regardless, don't lose 3 games. So, there's that. The next hot topic is Ohio State gets the hell route, and then Penn State gets
Tennessee. Sorry,
the golden. Yeah, they did. Okay, but the next one is Ohio State gets the hell path, where they have to go to Tennessee, and then they'll have to go play
Oregon.
They'll have to play Oregon to get into the Final Four, where Penn State gets SMU round 1. They get Boise State round 2. If James Franklin even resembles a head football coach, they're cakewalking to the Final Four. Do you think Penn State deserved the 6th seed over 8th seeded Ohio State, even though Ohio State has the head-to-head? Or is it kind of like Penn State made the Big Ten championship, kept it close with Oregon, don't really want to punish them too much for a loss?
I mean, Penn State had 1 loss going into that game.
Yeah, they did.
So
I think, okay, Penn State fan here, but please, really listen to this point. They lost to Ohio State. They lost both of their big games this year, which was Ohio State and the Big Ten championship to Oregon. Mind you, no one's beaten fucking Oregon. So, their first year in the Big Ten ran it. I have to give them credit. Now, mind you, they're like an NFL team at this point, at least with the money and the contracts. But Ohio State, Penn State's considered a big game. Okay, you win that one. Your other big loss, you also lost to Oregon, just like Penn State did. So you kind of have an equal loss there. Now, here's the problem. Penn State lost to Ohio State and Oregon. These are two phenomenal teams, and both have a real shot at the Natty. You lost to Michigan. You lost to Michigan. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. Now, granted, I think they should be ahead of Notre Dame, but dude, losing to Michigan, this Michigan team, that's horrible. That's horrible. That alone, I don't even care about the head-to-head at that point. You have to be under Penn State. That's just me.
I do want to say, I feel like this year is the perfect year for a 12-team playoff. Like, we didn't have any undefeated teams.
You know what's funny?
Oregon's
they kind of... No. I do agree with you. The College Football Playoff Committee just looked at this thing entirely different, though.
They did.
Because rank, not the physical, like, standings, like, bracket, the actual, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, not on, like Boise State wasn't the third best team in the country. They were the third best conference champ. They were ranked 9th. Penn State was 4. So if this was a real 4-team playoff, Penn State would have got in with 2 losses, which has never happened before. So I think they're just looking at this whole thing just utterly differently. Because, like, okay, if we're looking at a real 4-team playoff, does a 2-loss Georgia gets in as SEC champs? They're going to have to. Undefeated Oregon obviously gets the 1 seed. Your 3 seed, could it be a 1-loss group of 5 champ like Boise State? Can you justify it? Do they deserve to get in over a 2-loss Texas team who their only loss was to the number 2 team in the country twice? Maybe. Maybe I can see that. But in terms of a deserving thing, but it's so weird. So I think you're right, because if they had to justify putting a 2-loss SEC school in the playoff, no one was going to be happy. But I'm excited. I've kind of come around to it. I dig the idea of home playoff games in college football. We're about to get a whiteout in a Happy Valley in a playoff setting.
That's gonna be cool.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be
Miami's
great.
playing in the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Yeah, that's what Cam Ward said. He said, "I got to get ready for the Pop-Tart Bowl."
That boy, I'm be throwing that ball around. He said,
he said something about. He said, "I don't get sacked. I got that. I got those trench babies. Unlike you." He was talking to Shador. He said, "Don't let him bait you into saying anything."
He said, "I ain't gonna snazz in my trench, baby. They there."
They're there. They're there. And then I think another thing, even in the second round, the quarterfinals, you give a lot of bowl games more spice again. Like, teams can walk out of a season, even if they end up losing the next round, they lose in the Final Four. Hey, we were Orange Bowl champs. We were Rose Bowl champs, whatever it may be. I think giving bowl games a playoff setting also adds a little bit of juice. And I don't know. Maybe someone pulls off a Cinderella run. We'll see. But I do think
I have to mention the funniest thing I've seen. Someone made a 1,024 college football playoff bracket.
What was it?
It was a potential 1,024 college football playoff bracket where it's like March Madness, right?
Yeah.
You'll guess who Texas was playing.
Who?
You'll never guess.
Temple?
Williamson Tech School, bro. Williamson Trade School, bro.
Yeah,
so,
dude.
How bad would it be?
They're playing Brandon Jessup.
Yeah, it's my stepbrother, Chris. Williamson Trade School is a D2 school.
They're D2?
Yeah, dude.
I thought they were a trade school.
It's like a D2 trade school, yeah.
Damn. I thought trade just plays. I guess some trades play D3. I don't know.
D2, D3. But anyway, dude.
That is pretty crazy.
It's like, it was hilarious. Dude, one of the teams they listed was just Chinese letters. It was funny.
Yeah, no. Funniest thing I seen, they said, okay, well, now how about a 12-team NIT playoff?
That'd be fire. I would watch it.
They had like Colorado playing South Carolina in round 1, and not exactly sure what happened to Chris. But yeah, I mean, this year, I think the committee did a good job with the picks. I think they set the right precedent of not punishing teams for losing their conference championships. And it kind of put some foots down as we welcome Chris back in. But it kind of just set like a precedent. It's like, yeah, sure, you're the SEC, but we're not just going to let you have whatever you want. Granted, they still did get 3 teams in, but 3 teams that kind of kept their reputation pretty solid all year, unlike Alabama that kind of crumbled near the end. They're not going to respect it. You know, it's not about the better team. It's about the resume. Now, me personally, last year I was talking about Florida State had the better resume, but they're not going to have the quarterback, so I don't want to see them. But nonetheless, I'm very excited. Penn State, I dare you to make anything less than the semifinals. Truth be told, if you can get Ohio State again in the semifinals, that's a winnable game. Neutral site, it's possible. You know what? I'll even go this far. They get to the championship, and Drew Aller puts together, give me like 3 solid games, bro. I'm in. He gives me 3 good games. I'm in. I'm making him quarterback 3 of this class. Granted, not even that hot of a take, considering QB3 right now is like Quinn Ewers, and he's buns. So, I can't wait till draft time, man. I can't wait. But yeah, that's pretty much everything from us today. Anything else to say before we get on out of here?
Nothing too prevalent. I do want to say the Eagles open up as 5-point favorites at home against Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, you get 3 for home, 2.5. I'm not mad at it. Could be just a solid, give them 3 points because they're home. That's how I personally feel. But
Bet the Clay score 24-21. Y'all heard it here first.
24-21. Okay, we're plugging
Since
score
I like both of
predictions
y'all,
early.
I will not say what team's going to win 24-21.
Boswell 8 field goals.
Chill. Do not make this a kicking shootout, bro. We're
Boswell Elliott kickoff. I'll be there.
No, I know who I got in that one. Give me Boswell.
Boswell
for sure. Jake Elliott hasn't made a 50-yard kick all year. He's like 0 for 6.
Dude,
and that just completely warps my entire perception. I'm like, okay, Nick Sirianni kept like not kicking field goals earlier in the year, but I'm like, what did you know, son? I was like, you know what? You got it, Nick. You're good in my book. And I have no sympathy for kickers. Like me personally, if I was a Ravens fan, I would have cut Justin Tucker yesterday. But it's like, but that's your guy. But it's like, there's no one better on the market. So it's kind of just like, but he also is like actively the worst kicker in the league. So
there's no one better on the market. And he's won 2 games for us this year, too, on kicks. So I will say that the 2 to 3s lost us. I would say it's a wash. He loses 1 or 2 more, then he's on the wrong side of history.
Me personally, if y'all could guarantee that every kick would be from 45 yards and in, I know a guy.
Well, let me tell you.
He hasn't kicked the football in like 4 years, but I know a guy.
Let me tell y'all something. I had to explain to my girlfriend how difficult those kicks actually are, because she was like, somebody missed a 54-yarder. She was like, oh, how'd they miss that? I'm like, well, let me tell you, it was a time where people only really kicked 45-yard field goals at most. This is a different life we're living right now. She's like, oh, I thought they were easy. I'm like, oh, let me show you.
Man, Akers and Tucker changed the game, bro. Your kicker's got to be nailing stuff from 50.
Literally. Aubrey's goated. Brandon Aubrey.
But yeah, Aubrey's a different beast.
How does he?
You got to just let him do a 70-yarder just for the one time.
Right.
What do you got to
lose about that season? Let's do it. Let's do it.
Like, and you know what? Do it against a team that's dumb enough to try to return it, because then you just ruin your field position. But
did they play the Browns again?
Do they play the Browns at all this year?
They already lost.
No, I think they already played them. They already did. And that's Brandon Cook's best and only game of the year. But again, that's everything from us. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on those post notifications. Don't miss a single episode. If you're listening to this on audio platforms, leave a like, 5-star review, comment if you can, download if you enjoy the episode. Again, sorry that this is coming out way later in the day than it usually is. Things happen though, and it's not that deep. But from AP New Freezer, coached by Amigos DC Comics, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on Thursday.